There's a specific type of person who will reject a perfectly good car just because it isn't black. Not dark gray, not midnight blue, black. And when you understand why, you will never look at people the same way again.
Think about every powerful person you have ever seen in a movie, a news clip, or real life. What are they driving? It is almost always black. And most of us just assume that was a Hollywood thing, a stylistic choice. But it is not. There is something much deeper happening in the minds of people who are genuinely obsessed with black cars, and by the end of this, you will understand exactly what it is. Let us start with something that happened in a car dealership in London a few years ago. A man walked in to buy a new luxury sedan. The salesperson showed him 5 different models, all excellent, all within his budget. He test drove 3 of them. He liked 2 of them. But when the salesperson mentioned that the model he loved most was only available in white or silver, the man stood up, shook hands politely, and walked out. He went to another dealership across the city and paid more money for a lesser model just to get it in black. That is not a preference. That is a psychological pull. So what is actually going on inside someone like that?
Color is one of the most powerful unconscious triggers in human psychology. You do not consciously decide how a color makes you feel. It just happens. And black is unique because it does not just trigger one emotion. It triggers a whole cluster of them at once. Power, mystery, control, silence. And for certain personality types, those feelings are not just appealing, they are necessary. People who are obsessed with black cars tend to have a very specific relationship with how the world perceives them. Image is not vanity to these people. Image is armor. They think carefully about how they walk into a room, how they dress, what they say, and what they do not say. The car is just another extension of that carefully constructed outer self. And black, more than any other color, communicates exactly what they want to communicate without saying a single word. Think about what black actually says. It says, I am serious. It says, do not underestimate me. It says, I have arrived. There is a reason that black is the color of power suits, luxury watches, and high-end technology. It is the color of things that mean business. And people who are drawn to it are almost always people who want to be taken seriously in the world. But here is where it gets layered. Not everyone obsessed with black cars wants attention. Some of them desperately want the opposite. There is a type of person who chooses black precisely because it blends in while still standing out. They do not want people staring at them. They want to move through the world with a kind of quiet authority. Black lets them do that. A bright red car screams, "Look at me." A black car simply commands respect without asking for it. That distinction matters enormously to a certain kind of person. Now let us talk about control, because this is the piece most people miss completely. People who obsess over black cars are very often people who have a deep psychological need for control in their environment. Not in a dangerous way, in the way that some people simply cannot function well in chaos. They like order, they like precision, they like things to be exactly the way they want them. And black is the most controlled color that exists. It is definitive. It is final. There are no variations, no ambiguity. It is just black. For someone whose inner world craves certainty and structure, that is deeply comforting. You will often find that these same people are meticulous about keeping their black car spotless. They wash it more than anyone else. They notice every scratch, every watermark, every tiny speck of dust. To an outsider, that looks obsessive, but to them, it is just maintaining the standard. The car is a reflection of their internal need for everything to be exactly right. There is also something deeply emotional happening beneath all of this that nobody really talks about. Black has always been associated with depth, with things that are hidden, with mystery. And people who are drawn to that color on a deep level are often people who carry a lot beneath the surface themselves. They are not always the loudest person in the room. In fact, they rarely are. But they are often the most intense. The ones who feel things deeply, but share very little. The ones who observe everything, but reveal almost nothing. The black car is a perfect symbol of that inner life.
What you see on the outside is polished and composed. What is underneath is far more complex. There is also a strong connection between black car obsession and a concept called personal sovereignty, the feeling that you answer to no one.
That you move on your own terms, that you built something for yourself and you answer only to your own standards. People who feel this way are often drawn to black because it carries no compromise. You either like it or you do not.
And the person driving it genuinely does not care which one you are. This connects to something interesting about status. Most people think status is about showing off, but for the black car personality, status is not about impressing others. It is about knowing your own worth.
There is a subtle but massive difference between those two things. Someone who buys a bright, flashy car in an attention-grabbing color is often seeking external validation. Someone who buys a black car is often making a private declaration to themselves. I know who I am. I do not need you to tell me.
That psychological independence is actually one of the most consistent traits you find in people with this obsession. They tend to be self-directed. They set their own goals. They are deeply uncomfortable with being told what to do.
They have strong opinions and very little patience for people who do not respect boundaries. The black car is not just a vehicle. It is a rolling expression of their entire personal philosophy. Now, here is something fascinating that researchers in consumer behavior have actually found. People who consistently choose black in their major purchasing decisions, cars, clothing, furniture, tend to score higher in emotional resilience. They bounce back from setbacks faster. They are less likely to be knocked off course by other people's opinions. And they tend to have a clearer sense of personal identity than people who constantly switch preferences based on trends. Black is not trendy. It never goes out of style, and neither do the people who choose it.
But let us be honest about the shadow side, too, because this would not be a real psychological exploration if we only talked about the good parts. The same traits that make the black car personality powerful can also make them difficult. Their need for control can tip into rigidity.
Their independence can become isolation, their strong sense of self can become an unwillingness to be wrong, and their obsession with image, even the understated kind, can mean they spend more energy on how they appear than on how they actually feel inside. The armor becomes so good that even they cannot always take it off. The most interesting thing about all of this is what it says about the relationship between the external world and the internal world. We think of car color as a minor, surface-level decision. But nothing we do is truly surface-level. Everything we choose, every preference we carry, every obsession we nurse quietly in the background tells a story about what is happening inside us. The black car is just one of the more honest expressions of that.
So the next time you see someone washing their black car at 7 in the morning with the focus of someone preparing for battle, do not just see someone who likes a clean car.
See someone who has built an entire inner world around precision, identity, and the quiet refusal to be anything other than exactly who they are. That is not an obsession. That is a philosophy.